Welcome to Top 30. I'm Kristen Smith.
And I'm Richard Bacon, and here are the top 30 stories in 30 minutes.
U.S. News & World Report released its 2018 ranking of America's best overall states. They analyzed thousands of data points and took into account many different metrics, including healthcare, education, the economy, opportunity, infrastructure, crimes and corrections, fiscal stability, and quality of life. Some metrics were weighted more heavily than others. Surprisingly, California came in last for quality of life, but 32nd overall. So which states came out on top? Those might surprise you as well. Coming in 5th overall was New Hampshire, followed by North Dakota in 4th place, Utah in 3rd, Minnesota in 2nd, and coming in 1st was Iowa. It had high rankings across a wide variety of metrics, including 1st in infrastructure, 3rd in healthcare, and 5th in education. So now you might be thinking which states didn't do so well. Coming in 46th overall was Alabama, followed by West Virginia, New Mexico, Mississippi, and coming in last at number 50 is Louisiana. And while the Hawkeye State has all the glory this year, hopefully Louisiana can boost its ranking next year.
Let's go to the New York Stock Exchange for our Fox Business Minute with your friend and mine, Nicole Pedalides. Nicole, I am hearing big things about Netflix.
That's right, Richard. Netflix is adding almost 700 new and original TV shows this year. The streaming company will spend $8 billion on content. It ended 2017 with over 100 million streaming members worldwide. eBay is introducing a feature called Under $10. Shoppers will be able to search through a wide variety of items, $10 or less, with free shipping. When you think Whole Foods, you think healthy and organic. Well, since Amazon bought the supermarket chain, it's been reorganizing Whole Foods shelves by adding its own private label products and may soon add popular goods such as Coca-Cola.
Nicole, I was reading about this earlier, and apparently there is some internal debate about this.
That's right. The idea here is that adding consumer packaged goods would go against the Whole Foods image, which puts the two at odds because Amazon's goal is to make more products available to the consumers and more money.
Nicole Pedalides on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Thank you. Kristen, you have a story about irresponsible driving.
Yeah, Richard, the Governor's Highway Safety Association released a report saying that smartphone use, alcohol, and marijuana contributed to nearly 6,000 pedestrian deaths in the U.S. last year. Interestingly, just 5 states accounted for nearly half the deaths, at 43%. And Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio will star together for the first time in the Quentin Tarantino film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The actors will portray the two men who live next door to Sharon Tate, who was famously murdered by members of the Manson family in the late 1960s. And finally, Jacksonville State basketball player Nobertas Giga thought his coaches called him in to watch some film, but they'd secretly orchestrated a surprise visit from his mom, who he hadn't seen since leaving Lithuania 5 years ago. Giga tweeted out a thank you saying, "I can't even explain how much it means and how this moment feels to me." Okay, cue the waterworks.
A shocking report alleges that many American meat plants are plagued with hygiene problems. The Guardian and the Bureau of Investigative Journalism found alarming incidents that were documented in US government reports but never published. They allege chicken was dropped on the floor and cleaned with chlorine before going back on the production line. Pig carcasses reportedly piled up on the floor and became contaminated with grease and blood. Diseased meat was found in containers that were also used to hold products that would be sold to humans. The incidents took place over the last 2 years at 13 large red meat and poultry plants. Investigators documented over 15,000 violations, which is a rate of about 150 every single week. Right now, as many as 15% of Americans suffer from foodborne illnesses. The companies involved say they took immediate action and that customers didn't face any risk. Welcome back. Flu shots were far less effective this year leading to the worst flu season in 10 years. Kristen, patients who received a vaccine were about 25% less likely to become sick from the flu than someone who didn't. Last year, that number was 45%.
Wow, so far less effective. Yeah, and
it
doesn't surprise me one bit. You know, my son, we get a flu shot every year. My son got a flu shot, got sick 3 days later, got the flu. And the doctor said, of course, had nothing to do with the flu shot. I get a flu shot every year. I've been sick more times this year than ever before in my life.
It's been a lot more aggressive. I think it's less to do with medicine being ineffective and much more to do with this particular strain of flu being that much more aggressive.
Absolutely. And the FDA are studying millions and millions of cases here to try to figure out what the heck is happening? What went wrong? What can they do to fix this?
To be fair to the Food and Drug Administration, the other thing that happens famously is, you know, that bodies learn to fight vaccines, don't they? It's one of the clever things bodies learn to do, which unfortunately works against us. So you've got that and a more aggressive strain.
All right, take your vitamin C, huh?
Take your vitamin C.
The Oscars are coming up Sunday, and Jimmy Kimmel will be the host once again. Now, Richard, I know you like to mix and mingle with Hollywood's elite. Are you going to be watching the Oscars? Are you going to be at the Oscars?
No, I'll probably be watching it at, you know, a famous person's house or an elite private members club, I would have thought. I mean, I'm not ruling out getting a last-minute ticket. But it's, you know, the debate is about how political Jimmy Kimmel should be, right, in his monologue.
Yeah, he's a very political guy, and he's gone on record saying that, you know, it's important for comedians to talk about politics.
Well, I also think it's important that hosts have to be themselves, right? So it's, if he went out there and didn't do political jokes, then he would be inauthentic.
There's no chance he's not going to talk about politics. I think the question here is, do people want him to talk about politics?
That's a different question, you're right, and that is, they are two almost conflicting questions. I think maybe the public don't want it. The evidence seems to show that ratings go down.
I mean, look at the NFL. When the taking a knee thing and the ratings went down quite a bit. So do people want to see politics and entertainment, you know, exist on the same stage? Ratings say probably not.
Well, I do want him to be very political, and I would say this to Jimmy Kimmel, just keep me in mind, think about me. Here is a big story.
Huge.
They don't come bigger than this. Tooth fairy payouts shrunk in 2017. A survey found the amount paid out by the tooth fairy dropped from an average of $4.66 to $4.13. That's an 11% decrease.
Okay, well, it turns out children in Western states get the most money from the tooth fairy, $4.85.
That's like a lot.
Per tooth, by the way.
There's a lot of tooth to fall out.
I know, right? Adds up. In the Midwest, the tooth fairy is especially stingy. Kids there get $3.44 per tooth.
Kristen, are you part of the problem?
You know, my kids aren't old enough to start losing teeth. My daughter just got her molars. In fact, she was up all night last night. So this is not a problem in my life yet, but your kids are older. And does the tooth fairy stop by your house?
I've not noticed. My son is 6. Is he meant to have lost any teeth yet?
Don't ask me.
I don't know. Do you know what we do in England in relation to the tooth fairy, Kristen? It's very different.
Oh, gosh, what?
We tell our children the truth.
What?
Kid, your tooth fell out. Tough luck. Top 30 will be right back. Welcome back to Top 30. White House Communications Director Hope Hicks has resigned. She is the 5th person to hold the job. The announcement came just one day after she testified before Congress, a place where she talks about telling white lies on behalf of the president.
Yeah, never a dull moment, huh?
No, that's absolutely true.
5 people have held this position in 6 stints, because remember, Spicer did twice.
So can I tell this guy? Can I tell my favorite fact? There's a guy called Jason Miller, who was White House Communications Director in 2016. He lasted from December the 22nd all the way till Christmas Eve.
All the way.
They're like pop-up communications directors.
Quick.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a lot of drama and speculation as to why she's leaving.
Well, so she was dating Rob Porter. Rob Porter was a White House staff secretary who left after 2 ex-wives accused him of domestic abuse. It played out very badly for the White House.
Which he still denies.
He still denies. But I read an article yesterday which said, you know, there's a great cachet in being a former White House communications director. Although, unfortunately, there are now quite a lot of former Donald Trump White House communications director. The market has been flooded.
Well, a shocking new report I think is going to get a lot of people talking. This report says many workers at Disneyland, the happiest place on Earth, are struggling to pay for basic expenses. This survey was conducted by outside researchers and paid for by labor groups representing Disney workers. They're calling on Disney now to raise their wages. And some of the figures, it really blows my mind. I mean, 3/4 of people surveyed say they do not earn enough money for basic expenses.
And there was another stat as well. 60% of people who work there struggle to afford food in the last 12 months. Wow. What have Disney said about this, Kristen?
You know, a spokesperson for Disney came out with a statement really slamming this report, saying the findings were deliberately distorted and do not reflect how the overwhelming majority of our 30,000 cast members feel about the company. You know, I think it's important for our viewers to think about, why do we go to Disneyland? When we go to Disneyland, it's for the magic. It's because Mickey Mouse is there, and my son will look at him and act like he's staring at the face of an angel. The magic of Disney, those people on the floor who are making the experience worthwhile for our family.
The only reason I go is because my kids bully me into taking them.
That too.
We know how well this company does. We know about Black Panther. Disney's opening on Broadway. Star Wars just came out. I think this is sensitive and a delicate moment for them, and it will be very interesting to see how they respond.
Well, Top 30, we'll be right back. In today's Hometown Stories from Fox 13 Tampa Bay, there's a big demand for workers in the construction business, and one program designed especially for women is helping them build the skills they need to compete. Women Building Futures is a hands-on 15-week class that breaks down the basics of construction, everything from how to hammer a nail to the proper name for each tool. And the women in the class are chomping at the bit to bring their new skills into an industry dominated by men. In our second story from Fox 10 Phoenix, little baby Jackson was born with a heart defect that required surgery. After further complications with one of his heart valves, cardiologists at Phoenix Children's Hospital decided to have him undergo an additional surgery, melody valve implantation. Jackson is the first baby in Arizona to have the operation. In it, doctors implant a replacement valve with a catheter in order to prevent leaks in the heart. But it worked extraordinarily well for Jackson, who is recovering nicely. In our final story from Fox 26 Houston, some of the youngest people affected by Hurricane Harvey were babies in the neonatal intensive care unit at Baptist Beaumont Hospital. The storm caused flooding so severe that the city's water had to be cut off. The tiny babies and their doctors were airlifted to Galveston's UTMB hospital until the floodwaters went down. But now, 6 months later, the babies are thriving and reuniting with those doctors and nurses who stayed by their sides during those scary times. And the parents said the employees at Baptist Beaumont are now a part of their family.
Welcome back. Wells Fargo is being sued. The city of Sacramento, California, alleges that the bank discriminated against African-American and Latino families. The lawsuit claims minority borrowers were pushed into more expensive mortgages than white borrowers. African-Americans with credit scores over 660 were nearly 3 times as likely as whites to receive high-interest or high-risk loans. Latino borrowers were nearly twice as likely. The lawsuit says the practice directly caused an excessive and disproportionately high number of foreclosures in minority communities. Sacramento alleges those foreclosures have also driven down property values in the area. The lawsuit quoted former Wells Fargo employees who detailed the practice, including one who says that while the bank advertised mortgages in Spanish, it did not produce translated documents to sign, leading some borrowers to agree to terms they simply did not understand. The bank denies the claim, saying the allegations do not reflect how we operate in the communities we serve. But that is a serious story. I don't know if you know anyone who's been foreclosed, but the psychological consequences for families that are foreclosed are vast.
Absolutely. Well, how about this story? Chances are you may be giving away valuable information for free that should be making you money. Consumer reporter Steve Noviello from Fox 4 Dallas is here to unlock the potential profit when you monetize your life. Steve?
Hey, Kristen, I've got some help today. Nicole Walters quit the comfort of a 6-figure salary and turned a side hustle into a 7-figure job because you know how to monetize your life. What's step number 1?
Step 1 is getting your great idea. Ask your friends and family what you do best.
Now I've got my idea. How do I market it?
Step 2, get it online. Build a website so people have a place to go to interact with your business.
And then what's the third step?
You got to go out and find your people. Get on social media and get your customer.
How do I make sure that I stand out?
Tell your story. Don't just focus on the product. Let people know why you're in this and why you love it.
All right, Nicole tells you all about why she does it and why she loves it in the new season of my podcast, Basic Training. The episode, Hey Rich Friend, available right now, facebook.com/SaveMeSteve.
Well, great advice on how to make some extra cash. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Nicole. Well, a heartwarming story now. Randy Fishman was newly married and only 28 years old when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. After learning from her doctors that it would be dangerous to carry a child on her own, she decided to freeze 10 embryos to keep her dream of becoming a mom alive. It was then that Randy's older sister, Erin, stepped in and made a selfless offer. She would be Randy's surrogate after she was done having kids of her own. In the meantime, Randy and her husband, Zach, had their daughter, Parker, via a different surrogate in 2014. But when they were ready for baby number 2, the timing was perfect. Erin would be the surrogate. And this past December, Erin helped welcome Parker's new sister, Austin Harley, into the world. Randy told People magazine, "There is no way to thank her for what she did for us." Now that is sisterly love.
It is. There is a remarkable story behind Flamin Hot Cheetos, and it's going to be made into a full-length feature film.
Wow.
Fox Searchlight and Devon Franklin will produce the real-life rags to riches tale. It started when a janitor named Richard Montañez was cleaning up the Frito-Lay's Rancho Cucamonga plant. He came across a batch of botched Cheetos that hadn't been dusted with the famous cheese flavor and decided to take them home and spice them up with some of his favorite Mexican flavors. Montañez said many times, greatness will come in ridiculous forms. A ridiculous idea might be $1 billion idea. His creation got him a meeting with the Frito-Lay's president, and he presented the idea to company execs just weeks later. Before he knew it, Flamin' Hot Cheetos were on the shelves, and they quickly became the company's highest-selling product. Montañez was promoted. He is now Executive Vice President of Multicultural Sales at PepsiCo. A film about Flamin' Hot Cheetos. At last. We'll be right back. The suicide rate in the US has been steadily increasing for decades. Now, a Nobel Prize-winning economist and his wife, a Princeton professor, say they have some answers. Jason Bellini explains in this week's Wall Street Journal Moving Upstream report.
Professors Deaton and Case have made it their mission to solve a mystery. What's behind the decades-long rise in suicide rates in America? One correlation they found in their research concerns education.
The economy is no longer offering a good life to people without a university degree.
Today, fewer than a third of Americans ultimately earn a bachelor's degree before the age of 29. The conversation gets really intriguing when you get to some of their more controversial views.
This 250-year experiment we've had with democracy could be coming to an end.
In Deaton and Case's view, there's something wrong not just in America, but also with America. Richard?
Thanks, Jason. For the full report, log on to wsj.com/upstream.
Well, it's that time of the year again. The Oscars are on Sunday, and besides finding out who will take home the big awards, everyone wants to know, what will the stars be wearing? I've got fashion expert Devin Nusser here with me to give us the 411 on what we can expect to see on the red carpet. Devin, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So what's trending?
This year, you know, it's not the fashion, it's the statement that you're making on the carpet. I think with the Me Too movement and what we saw at the Golden Globes is really how actresses are showing their support of what's going on right now.
Okay, so looking at some images you provided from the Tahari ASL collection, all beautiful. Do you think modesty is going to be a trend this year?
Yeah, I pulled these looks because I just feel like these are really classic looks that are kind of can hold the end of time. While most are, you know, staying within the lines of being a little bit more conservative, I think there are those who are going to take risks, you know.
Well, some of my favorite red carpet looks in the past have been 2014, Lupita Nyong'o, and Chrissy Teigen last year. Oh my goodness, love.
Amazing,
what do you think makes these looks so successful?
I think for Lupita, it was really the color choice. I think that light baby blue, the pastel just popped against her skin, which is amazing. And then the way it layered the embellishments, it was really unique.
All right, well, Devin, I love the looks you pulled from Tahari ASL. I love the chatter, and we'll see what happens on the red carpet at the Oscars this Sunday.
Very exciting. Thank you.
A licensed Canadian weed producer is the first marijuana company ever to begin trading on the U.S. Stock Exchange. Cronos Group has already been listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange and made its debut on the NASDAQ this week, closing on its first day at $7.62 a share. While marijuana is still federally illegal in the United States, it's legal for Americans to invest in the Canadian exchange. Cronos CEO Mike Gorenstein says getting on the stock exchange isn't about infiltrating the U.S. weed market, it's just about introducing their brand and allowing Americans to invest. And by the way, Cronos Group currently has a market value of $1.4 billion. Hey Richard, what's coming up on our next show?
Kristen, we're talking about the royal family. Kate, William, Meghan and Harry made their first official appearance. We'll have details in Royal Watch, and this filmmaker is helping sick children realize their Hollywood dreams. Top 30 also covers more of the day's stories live on Facebook, 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern. It's all coming up on the next Top 30.